What's going on, folks, and welcome back to the Duck Roost podcast. And man, it's episode 10, and I feel so bad. It should be episode 25 or more. And we kind of fell off, kind of lost track with the podcast during duck season. Between traveling, holidays, and work, it just kind of got pushed to the side, along with the YouTube channel. Because, we was focused on getting the hunting content for the Black Belt Waterfowl channel, so the podcast just kind of got set to the side. And that was not my plan. But I got a lot of things to tell y'all about. So, this will be the first podcast since we've been back from our trip, which is actually a couple of weeks behind. We've actually been home for about 2 weeks now. 2.5 actually. Closer to 3. But that was our last trip of the season, but I decided on a whim to take one last trip, one last hoorah, and so I'm actually leaving tonight, late tonight, early morning hours. Actually be tomorrow, but it'll be a little after midnight because it's about a 13-hour ride. But Cade will not be going with me, unfortunately. My main man, my partner, travel partner, my right-hand man, my old reliable gun to my left or right side, depending on where he sits, he's not going to be with me. He's got some other obligations. He's playing varsity baseball, and I'm not sure about y'all, but I raised my kids to be team players. So if you're going to be part of the team, you committed yourself to the team and to the coach that you're going to be there for practices and games and what have you. Being sick and illnesses is one thing, not being able to be there for that, but that doesn't apply to hunting trips in my book. Now, if I'm wrong for that, I just am, but I believe if you included yourself to be part of the team, then you need to be there for team functions. So he will not be on the trip, but old Cason, old wild man, the myth, the legend himself, he is going with me. He is pumped. He has not been on a trip since teal season of 2021. So he went with me and Cade and Jake from Chasing Green to Nebraska, and that was the last trip he was on. We got some little unlevelness going on here with the. For those of you watching on the YouTube channel, I'm adjusting the camera. We got a little off level here. I don't know how I done that when I was setting things up. So you getting a close up of my face right now. Maybe a little bit better. Man, it went too far the wrong way. Oh, the other way. Let's see. Oh well, it is what it is. So with that being said, I'm headed out in the morning. I'm actually doing this podcast today. When you hear it, it'll be live. So it was the day you hear it, it'll be the day I done it. I usually, upload them a couple of days after I do the podcast, but this one's going up today. So, yep, what I'm going to do when I get through this podcast, I'm going to get it edited and uploaded and posted, and then I got to get all of our gear loaded up and ready to go. Kind of taking the bare minimum this time because, old wild man, he's 9 years old. He doesn't have a strong back and a strong mind like Cade does, who's 16, so he can't carry a lot of stuff. A lot of it's going to have to be done by sled or by deer cart, and so a lot of the work's on old Dad this time. So we're going to take the bare minimum. We're going to take like a dozen floaters, actually be 16 floaters, be a dozen floaters. There'll be 4 decoys on my Motion Ducks jerk rig, so it'll be 16 decoys total. Taking my spinners and a pulsator. Not sure if I'll use them, but I'll have them if I want them. And taking our Momarch Invisimans, taking 2 of them as well as 2 layout blinds. If we get into some situations where we can use the layout blinds, they're a lot lighter than the Momarsh and Visimans, and he can wear that on his back because they're not heavy at all. So that is the plan. Got to get things loaded up. But we're going to be staying at the campground again, but the cabins and things that we typically stay in were all unavailable. So what I did was, this is crazy, but I took the decoy trailer. So for those of y'all who have been following the Black Belt Waterfowl channel for a while, you know that I have an enclosed trailer. And I haven't used it a whole lot, not near what I thought I would. I actually had kind of tossed around the idea a month or so ago about, this off season selling it, and because I just don't use it. So what I did was I converted, well, I'm going to say converted. I made the decoy trailer into a duck camp on wheels. I'm calling it the Greenhead Tavern. Is what I'm calling it. I've got a little cot that I'm going to sleep on, and I built a little frame platform type thing that's a little over knee high that I can set the cot up on to get it up off the floor, because we don't have a lot of floor space for storage. So got that. My cot's going to be up on there. And if you're familiar with the videos, if you've seen the decoy trailer in the front of it, it's like a V-nose in the front. And I had 2 shelves built in there. Well, on the top shelf, I made a little rail where Wildman can't fall off. Kind of turned that into a toddler bed looking thing. Made a ladder that goes up to it. It's got a rail. He can sleep up there. Won't fall down. Got some of that egg crate memory foam stuff, mattress topper, and coated it down. Doubled it actually. So it's pretty soft. He's not sleeping on plywood, so it's really soft. He loves it. And so got all that figured out. We got electricity. I got it wired up. We got electricity. We've got heat. Got a little portable heater that goes in there. So we've got electricity. We've got lights. We've got heat. Got a place to sleep. Hey, we're good to go. So it's going to be an adventure. You think, God, he's sleeping in a trailer. Hey, look, Jordan from Duck Gun Chronicles or the Duck Gun Podcast, wherever you know him from, he turned a short bus into a duck camp on wheels. So, hey, it works. And this is actually a lot cheaper. It's going to cut my costs down for lodging way in half. So, but, it's probably going to hit me a little bit harder on fuel pulling that trailer. But we'll see. That's kind of what I'm going to do. I'm going to keep up with the fuel costs and everything, plus what it costs for just to stay in a regular campsite, like for a camper, and compare costs and see which is the better route to go. And if it's way cheaper doing it this way, then this off season I'm gonna take out the things I've done in the trailer thus far, because they're just they're temporary, just to get by, and we may convert that thing into a full blown duck camp on wheels. So we'll see. We'll just have to see how things go. But one thing I want to talk to y'all about there, I really want to ask your opinion. So if you're watching on the YouTube channel, drop a comment below and let me know. I want to know your opinion. And if you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iTunes, wherever you get your podcast audio in audio form from, if you don't mind, go over to the Duck Roost Podcast YouTube channel. If you haven't subscribed already, hit the subscribe button, tap the notification bell, and drop a comment there. I want to know what your opinion is. There's a new fad going on right now with the sub gauges. Everybody's, well, not everybody, but a lot of people are getting the 28 gauges, and and even 410s. People are turkey hunting with 410s. Some people are duck hunting. I've seen a few guys on YouTube that are duck hunting with 410s. Now, take that in consideration. You think of 410, yeah, but they're shooting like tungsten, number 9s, which is a really heavy load, a lot of shots. So hey, it's probably pretty lethal. You just don't have a lot of powder, so it's not a very long range gun. You probably don't want to shoot anything over about 20-25, but that would be me. That would be what I would do. So with that being said, is a 20? Do y'all consider a 20 gauge to be a sub gauge? I don't. I don't think that a 20 gauge is a sub gauge. When someone says, "Oh yeah, you done moved up into the sub gauge fad," I kind of take offense to that, because I don't think a 20 gauge is a sub gauge. When someone says sub gauge, I think of something out of the ordinary, like a 28 gauge, a 410. Something like that. I just don't consider a 20 gauge a sub gauge. And the reason being, 20 gauge, people have been duck hunting with 20 gauges for years. But it really didn't come to light until the 28 gauge come on the scene. People like for example, Matt from High Prairie Sportsman. I consider him a friend. He and I have talked a good bit. Titus from Mid Valley Mercenaries, I consider him a friend. He and I have had multiple conversations about different things. So, and he shoots a 20 gauge sometimes. Now he has a 28 now, and then Matt also is a big fan and a big user of a 28 gauge. But Matt was teal hunting with a 20 gauge for years on his channel before he ever got the 28 gauge. And same with Titus. He shot that 28 gauge Frankie Affinity for 2 or 3 years before he got the he's got a Benelli 28 gauge now. So I don't consider that a sub gauge. Not only that, but children, young children who are getting into duck hunting, their dad, when they're 10, 11 years old, don't hand them a 12 gauge. They typically start out with a 20 gauge. So I don't consider that a sub gauge. A 20 gauge has been in the duck blind for years. So in my book, a sub gauge is something new to the game. The 28 gauge, the 410, so even a 16 gauge, I don't consider that a sub gauge, because years ago, when you could just about buy a 16 gauge anywhere you wanted, people were duck hunting with it for years. Go back and watch some of the old original Duckman videos, Duckman 1, 2, and 3. I know for sure old Phil was shooting an old Browning Sweet 16. So hey, it's not that uncommon. So I don't consider those to be sub gauges. But drop a comment down below. Let me know. Do you think a 20 gauge is a sub gauge? I don't. That's just my thing. But I recently got a 20 gauge automatic. I only had one 20 gauge, and it was a single barrel that I got when I was 8 years old. Believe it or not, it was my second gun. I got my first gun when I was 7. It was a 410 single barrel. And then the next year for Christmas, my daddy gave me a single barrel 20 gauge. And I hunted with that for a long time. I shot dove with it. Yeah, believe it or not, a single barrel. I shot dove with a single barrel. I shot deer with that gun. Killed a pile of wild hogs with it. And so some people, I've had some people comment on my shooting that I shoot really well, and I'm quick. And I think that comes from me being raised and brought up hunting with a single barrel. I only had one shot. I had to make that one shot count. And also had to, if I missed, I had to learn how to reload fast. And I think that's where my accuracy and my speed come from, was growing up shooting a single barrel. Actually, my first 3 guns were all single barrels. My first one was a 410. I got it when I was 7. 410 single barrel, or single shot. And then the next year I turned 8 and got a 20 gauge single shot for Christmas that year. And then when I turned 9, I got a 12 gauge single shot turkey gun. It had like a 24-inch barrel. It was short. That thing would stomp you in the ground. But I shot it. So, and then when I turned 10 years old, I got my first rifle, which was a 308. I did not get an semi-automatic gun until I was 15 years old, and I bought it myself. Well, I paid for it. I had a little summer job, and my first semi-automatic shotgun was a Remington 870 Express, black synthetic, 12 gauge. And I had a little summer job, and I worked and saved up my little money. I paid $269 for that gun. I will never forget it. Here where I live locally, I know the man that owns the sport goods store. I've known him my whole life. And I went in there with my dad, and I told my dad, I said, I want to ask Mr. Joe if he'll let me put a shotgun on layaway, because I didn't have the money, you know, working a little summer job at 15 years old. Back then I wasn't making about 40 bucks a day. So, well, about 60 bucks a week a day. A week, 60 bucks a week, I'm sorry. And we went in there and talked to me. He said, yeah, I'll let you put it on layaway. So I told him I was going to bring him like 40 bucks a week till I got it paid off. And I did. And he let me do that. Of course, you know, my dad put it in his name, obviously, because I was 15 years old. And that was my first semi-automatic shotgun. 15 years old. But anyway, back to the 28 gauge. I kind of got off on the rabbit trail there talking about my guns. But back to the 20 gauge. So if you've been watching or following the main YouTube channel, the Black Belt Waterfowl channel, for a number of years, you may remember back, it's probably 3 years ago now, maybe further than that, 2018, 19, somewhere around in there. I did some patterning videos. I was shooting a Remington V3 12 gauge, solid black synthetic gun. I bought that gun here. That was my first automatic shotgun. You know, there wasn't a pump, you know. And I bought it and I shot it for a full season. Had some problems with it. And the next year, in 2020, yeah, I bought that gun in 19, because in 2020 is when I bought my Franke. So then in 2020, I bought the Franke Affinity 3. I bought two of them. I bought me one and Kate. I bought them the same day. And 12 gauges. But anyway, I had the Remington V3. I had a lot of trouble with it. It was misfiring. And at first I thought it was the shells, but I swapped brands and I still had the same results. So it just, you know, when a gun starts doing that with me, I lose confidence in it, you know, like most people do. So I thought, the first time it happened, I was like, well, you know, it's been a while since I cleaned it. Maybe I just need to clean it real good. So I got it home that day from hunting, and I broke it down completely. Broke that gun down to 1,000 pieces. Took the firing pin out of the bolt, everything. Cleaned it. It was clean as it was the day it left the factory. Put it all back together. Took it out hunting the next time. Shot 4 or 5 times. Everything went good. And then click. Misfire. So I was like, man, it's got to be these shells, you know. So I swapped shells. I actually had 2 brands with me. I was shooting heavy shot at the time. And when I had those misfire the first time, broke the gun down, cleaned it, went back out hunting again, and shooting heavy shot again, misfire, click. I said, dang, I said, it must be these shells. Well, I had some, I think they were the black, yeah, I had some Federal black clouds with me in my bag that day. So I unloaded the gun with the heavy shot, put the black clouds in, shot 2 or 3 times, you know, and about that 4th or 5th shot, click, nothing. I was like, what the heck? And so fortunately for me, that was right there at the end of the season. So, you know, after the season went out, I broke it down, cleaned it real good, and I just put it in the gun cabinet. And I did not touch it again. Didn't hunt with it, didn't duck hunt with it, didn't turkey hunt with it, shoot dove, nothing. Didn't use it. Because I just, you know, I lost my confidence in it. And plus it's gas operated. Not really a fan of the gas operated, but you know, I let the guy at the sporting goods store talk me into it at the time when I bought it. And, you know, anyway. So I decided that I was going to get rid of that gun. I'm not a fan of just selling the gun straight to another individual, you know, because then the gun's still registered to me unless he actually takes it somewhere and does a transfer of ownership, which, you know, some people may tell you they're going to do it, but I would rather take it and sell it to another gun dealer, you know. So there, not too far from here, there is a gun store, a sporting goods store, and they'll trade, you know, they'll buy your gun or they'll trade you, you know, things like that. So they had a Stoeger M3020, however you want to say that, 20 gauge, black synthetic, 28-inch barrel, which I did like, and I don't even remember what they wanted for it now, $400 I think. And so yeah, they wanted $400 for it. So I took my gun over there and told the guy, you know, I said, look, I've had some issues with it misfiring. I said, I don't know if it's the shells or if it's the gun. I don't know. I broke it down. I've cleaned it 100 times, you know, and every once in a while it just misfires. You know, I said, I'm just not happy with it. And, you know, I could have lied and told the guy, yeah, man, ain't nothing wrong with it. But I'm an honest person, you know. So I just told him I didn't like the gun. I lost my confidence in it, and I wanted to get rid of it. And I was looking to trade. I wanted to get a 20 gauge automatic because I didn't have one. And he was like, all right, well, I got this Stoeger right here. He pulls it off the shelf. I look at it. I shoulder it. And it's, you know, Stoeger, for those of you who don't know, Stoeger falls under the Benelli name. Benelli owns Franchi, and they own Stoeger. Franchi is made in Italy, just like Benelli. Actually, the Franchi on the receiver of my gun and Kay's gun, and all Franchis that, you know, have been made since they were bought out by Benelli, is stamped Benelli on the receiver. It actually says Benelli Arms on it. So the Stoeger is owned by Benelli, but they're cheaper than the Franchi and the Benelli, obviously, because they're made in Brazil. So they're a little bit cheaper. It doesn't cost as much to export them, but they are owned by Benelli. So they have Benelli parts. They function like Benelli, same inertia system. Anyway, so I knew that they were a reliable gun. They were just a little bit on the cheaper side. But I was like, you know, look, how much am I really going to shoot this 20 gauge? So hey, I got no problem getting this Stoeger. So I asked the guy. I said, well, you do any horse trading? You know, trade this gun for that gun. So he's like, yeah, I'll do that. So he goes and looks up the value of my gun and the 12 gauge, the Remington V3, and lo and behold, we worked out an even trade. So, you know, I probably lost a little bit of money on it. Maybe, I don't know. It was $400 20 gauge. I think I paid almost $700 for that V3. But, you know, hey, I'm happy. That was the main thing. I wasn't happy. I didn't like that gun. I wasn't happy with it. And I got the 20 gauge. I got what I wanted. I'm happy with it. Even trade. Didn't have to come out of pocket. So I'm good to go. So I got the Stoeger M3020, and I got me a Carlson's mid-range cremator choke in it, which is what I use in my Franchi. Love that choke. Love it. Right now I'm shooting steel shot through it. I've been shooting the Kent Fast Steel 2.0s, 3-inch. Number 3s, I think they are. 3s or 4s. Actually, on our last trip, that's what I was hunting with. I don't know if anybody noticed it, but I noticed I had a black barrel instead of a camouflage barrel. That's because I was shooting my 20 gauge, and I have fallen in love with that gun. Man, oh man, I did not think I was going to like it so much. I call it my pop gun because I'm so used to shooting a 12 gauge. I've been shooting it for the last 20 years now. 22 years, been shooting a 12 gauge for the last 22 years. To move to that 20 gauge automatic inertia gun, and it's just like pum, 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 very, very little recoil, if any. I mean, it's incredible. So I have fallen in love with that gun, and man, so I got it so late in the season. I didn't take the time to order any Boss shells, which is what I like to shoot. I like to shoot the bismuth Boss. They shoot well, pattern well. But next year I will. I'll get me a case of the 20 gauge Boss, probably number 5s. So man, I can't say enough about that 20 gauge. I've just fallen in love with it. But like I said, that brings up the top. You know what I was talking about is do you consider that a sub gauge? I don't. I think it's just a it's just a gun that's just been overlooked. You know. I think because it's always been there. It's always been common in the blind, especially in children and, you know, younger teenagers, new hunters, younger hunters. It's always been in the blind. And then, you know, people really didn't start talking about it until the 28 gauge come out, and they're like, oh, well, now people are shooting 20 gauges, you know, adults. And I think that's where it came about. It's like, oh, it's a sub gauge. No, it's not. Not to me. It's always been there. Just adults haven't been shooting it. So, anyway, man, I hope y'all have enjoyed the duck hunting content that's been on the Black Belt Waterfowl channel this year. I have not dropped a video in the last couple weeks. I actually got one. I'm going to try to put it out today. It's an older video. It's from back in November. We had a hunt that just got completely ruined. And you'll be able to tell that it's an old video if you watch the channel, because my beard is big, my hair is long. It's from earlier in the season. But it was, we were having a pretty good day. You know, we had shot 3 or 4, something like that. And then it just got ruined by these other hunters, and I turned the camera off and I told Kate, I said, let's go, let's get out of here. So, you know, I think I'm going to post that video today. I was going to save it for the off season, but I think I'm going to go ahead and drop it. And then, I'm either going to drop it, or I do have a dry field hunt that we actually did on the last trip. We only killed 5. I had some major camera malfunctions on the last trip, and I think I've only got 4 kills on camera out of that dry field hunt. I think the first one, it didn't get captured because I was having some camera issues, which I'm hoping I got worked out now. I think I found out the problem, did a little research. I think I found out what's going on with the GoPro. So hopefully I got that fixed. We'll find out on this next trip. But I may upload that video. It's a dry field corn hunt, a dry cornfield hunt. We found some birds, hundreds of birds, working this field that turned out to be public, and we sat up there the next morning and they didn't come back. A few did, but you know, it just didn't work out like we wanted it to. But we did get 5. We wasn't skunked, so I may put that video up. I don't know, it'll be one of those 2. And then I probably will post one more duck hunting video from this upcoming trip this season, and then the rest of it I'll probably hold. I may share some of it late this summer or save it for the early part of next season, just because, you know, the views are going down. Season's going out for a lot of people, and they're just not watching duck content like they were. But I'm definitely going to share one video because this is just going to be a wild trip. You know, we're going to be sleeping in the trailer. Me and Wild Man are going to be there. It's the first time he and I have ever went, just me and him on a trip. So I'll probably post, you know, at least one hunt from that trip right here at the end of January. Maybe it may even be the first part of February. I don't know. Just depending on how soon I can get it edited and uploaded. But yep, that'll probably wrap it up. And I'll probably just bank the rest of those hunts from this trip and save them for next year. You'll get a sneak peek clips of them this summer because I'll put out another full-length video, full-length movie, I'll call it, which is a full-length form, you know, from teal season all the way through, showing every hunt. Of course, a lot of it will be cut down, you know, but I'm gonna put out another video, another full-length movie like I did last year. That movie did really well. I was really surprised with the results I got from it. So, gonna do that again. So you'll get to see those hunts then, and then they'll be released in their full-length hunt form, probably next hunting season. So, anyway, that's all I've got for you tonight. I know we were kind of just all over the place talking about, you know, the trailer, talking about the hunt we got coming up, sub gauges, the 20 gauge, and you know, where Cade's at and why he's not here and why this is a solo podcast for me today. But I appreciate y'all watching on the YouTube channel. If you have not subscribed, please do so. It really helps me out a lot when you do that. Like the videos. Like them and comment. That really, really helps with the engagement with them, with YouTube showing it to other people so it can get some other people on board watching. If you're listening on Spotify, Apple iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, whatever you get your audio form on, head over to the YouTube channel. There's not a lot on there, you know. It's just me sitting here talking. But still, you know, if you want to watch it in video form, I'd appreciate it if you'd head over there, hit the subscribe button, tap that little bell. That way you get notified when the videos post, and hit the thumbs up button, like the podcast, and drop some comments. And that's the benefit of the YouTube channel. If you have questions or comments, if you want to share your 2 cents, you can do that on the YouTube channel in the comment section. You really don't have that option in audio form with Spotify. But if you prefer the audio form, please follow me on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your audio stuff. Rate me, drop a rating. I really appreciate that. It helps me out a lot. And that's all I've got for you on this week's podcast, guys. And we will try to do some more from the road with me and Kason, old Wild Man. We'll try to get some podcasts done from this trip, and that one those podcasts will be a little bit different for those of you that watch the YouTube channel, and for those of you listening, you're really gonna want to go check out the YouTube channel for those, because we're gonna be in the trailer. I'm gonna give you a little tour, show you what the trailer looks like, how we're staying in it, and how things is going. You'll get some hunt updates. So, and old Wild Man can be a trip sometimes. That's why we call him Wild Man. Maybe he won't get too camera shy, but off camera, whew. Man, he's a trip. But I appreciate y'all listening and watching. And that's all I got for you on this week's podcast, guys. So until next time, we will catch y'all on the next one.